When you ask a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do they say? They say things like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fireman. They don't say, I want to sit in a cubicle and do boring work all day. And you know, they're really not saying, I want to be an astronaut or I want to be a fireman. Not really. What they're really saying is, I want to do something special. I want to be someone special. I want to have a sense of adventure. I want to have fun. I want to feel like what I'm doing makes a difference in other people's lives. Note something else. When we as adults ask that question, we're not saying, what do you want to do when you grow up, are we? No, how do we ask the question? What do you want to be when you grow up? And in the child's mind, they already have this incredible bridge. They have this golden brick road, if you will, that leads them from where they are to who they want to be. And I think what happens is life comes along and tears down the bridge. You know, behind me here, the Cedar River, about a month ago, went on this incredible rampage, actually picked up a small riverside house, slammed the house into this bridge, the Sutliff Tavern Bridge behind me, and ripped away part of it. That's a pretty good metaphor for what often happens to us. The kids come along, the responsibilities come along, we got to pay the bills, and the dream gets farther and farther away, and pretty soon the bridge that would have once gotten us out there has been wiped out. And one of the real challenges in life, if you want to be authentic, and it's really the beginning of self-awareness, one of the cornerstones of authenticity, is to figure out, how can I rebuild that bridge from where I am to who I want to be? And I use the bridge metaphor deliberately because you can't often take a single step. You know, there is a real world to deal with. There are bills to pay. But how do you build a bridge from where you are to who you want to be? And I'll give you 7 very practical suggestions. Number 1, think about what were the things you loved to do as a kid. Very often that's a clue. That's a clue to what are your inborn strengths, talents, passions. When I was a kid, no surprise, I was a bit of a ham, they tell me. Guess what I do now? Number 2, ask yourself this incredibly important and powerful question. It's a question I often ask people who are in career transition. What would you do if every job paid the same and had the same social status? It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, you're going to make the same amount of money, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to impress other people any more or less, depending on that. What would you do? The answer to that question can often lead you to, who's the ideal me? Who do I want to be? Now, very often, you ask that question, what would I do if every job paid the same? And there's no way to get paid for it. So the third strategy or question I'd ask you is, how can you take whatever it is you answer that question with and bring it into your current job? For example, I know a nurse who's a poet. She loves to write poetry, and someday she'd like to be a professional poet. But you know what? Right now there's no job description for RN poet. Instead of blowing it off, she's building a bridge from where she is to where she wants to be. She writes poems for patients, for coworkers. She has made it part of her job, even though it's not part of her job description. How can you do something like that? Strategy number 4, go back to school. Take classes. There are night school classes, community college classes on just about anything you want to do. A number of years ago, when I first started thinking, gee, I'd like to write a book someday, I was scared to death. And one of the things I did, I went to the University of Iowa Writers Workshop, and they have summer writing classes. Anybody can get into them. You have to have enough talent in writing to write your name on the bottom of a check, and they will let you into the class. But that opened my eyes to a whole new world, and it gave me just enough confidence to get started writing the book that became Never Fear, Never Quit, which became an international bestseller. How can you learn what you need to know to become who you want to be? Strategy number 5, how can you make a little money doing it right now? Start a home-based business. A lot of people moved from the job they were in to where they wanted to be by starting something. Think big, start small, start now, start at home. I have a good friend who really wanted to be a personal coach. And I've watched him develop over the years. He never quit his day job, but he now has a growing practice as a personal coach. He's building a bridge from where he is to who he wants to be. Something related to that, strategy number 6, volunteer. Want to be a carpenter? Don't know how? Get into a Habitat for Humanity project. Whenever a young person will ask me about a medical career, hospital administration, something like that, one of the things I'll tell them is, go volunteer at a hospital. Make sure you like the environment. If you fall in love with that environment, you're probably going to love the career. And finally, don't let the dream die. You look across over here, how can I get across this river? It looks impossible. I'm not that strong a swimmer, that's a strong current. You still, even when you can't see how you're going to get from here to there, it's a big black box in the middle, never lose sight of the dream. I'm Joe Tye, your values coach. Keep your dream alive, keep your spark going and glowing.